Welcome back, everyone. It's Trevor with La Luna Barbecue. Today we are going to be making some McRib style rib sandwiches. So first of all, you kind of need a special part for this. This is sort of like a Mcrib Mold. It's a 3D printed part that I got off of just a shop on Etsy. So you should be able to find them pretty easily online, eBay, Etsy, or whatever. I wasn't successful finding anything on Amazon or anything like that. Alternately, you could make a good rectangular shape with just, standard tools and then put some sort of rib marks in it. That would be just up to you. So we're just doing it this way just because it's kind of fun and it's like the others. So a couple of things here we're going to be starting with. First of all, we've got some country style pork ribs. I've got a little bit of cooked bacon. This is 3 strips of cooked maple bacon. The main rub that we're going to be using for this, or the seasoning, is our Loot and Booty everything rub. And this everything rub is just awesome. Essentially tastes like the definition of barbecue. It's kind of like some barbecue potato chips or something like that. So it'll go really good with our pork ribs as we do this. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to get these ground up with our grinder. If you don't have a grinder, it's okay to mince these up really fine with a knife. It just takes a little bit more time. I've got a die on here with a really coarse grind for it, and we'll get that ground up. The last thing I do have here is a little bit of reserved bacon fat just from actually cooking this bacon for breakfast this morning. So we've got a little bit of leftover fat. I'm just going to dollop some of that into the mix as well, but you'll see what we do when we get there. So let's get this meat ground up. So in order to get a good grind on this, we want a little bit smaller chunks of our pork ribs here. So we're just going to slice these up into inch and a half cubes. It's nice with these country style because you can just sort of chop them as they are. So that's it for the pork. We're going to grind the bacon right into the meat, but in order to kind of get a good consistency here, we're just going to kind of chop the bacon up and we'll just gradually add it in as we grind the pork. Just a rough chop on the bacon is definitely good. Something like that. So just to kind of give you numbers, today we're working with about 1.5 pounds of these country style pork ribs. And then, like I said, those 3 strips of bacon. We're going to transfer our ground pork into something to mix it with. Obviously, just remember with food safety, you want to sanitize all of these surfaces before you do anything else with this. I'm just going to dollop little bits of this bacon fat throughout. And then into our 1.5 pounds here, we're going to just go generously with our everything rub. It's at least a couple of tablespoons there. There's going to be a little bit more rub on top. And then just kind of get in there with your hands and mix it all up. Just want a little bit of that actual barbecue flavor all the way through the meat. We really want to maximize the flavor on this. Okay, that's about it for the mixing. Let's get our patties pressed. I'm going to clean up just a little bit here first. Okay, so what we want for this press process, again, this is 3D printed. It's very porous and lightweight. So this is not something that's dishwasher safe, and you probably don't want your meat pressing into there and creating mold. So basically just go like that. I'm going to hit these with just a little bit of cooking spray. And then we're going to start to press our meat in here. We want to press them really firm down in there so they form tightly, so they cook well. And then any of the excess that's above our edge, I'll just sort of start feeding into the next one. This 1.5 pounds should make about 4 of these All right, once you've got your patties formed, what we're gonna do is just hit them with a little bit more rub on the outside. We don't need to go too crazy with this. We're gonna take the whole thing, flip it over. Boom, just like that. We've got our McRibs. I'm gonna form up the rest of this here and we'll go from there. It's a good idea to start with a new sheet. This can just kind of get sticky. You want to have these on a wire rack like this so that the smoke can penetrate both sides. Give a little bit of room between them, but it's not totally crucial. And then again, one more dusting of our rub across the top. Now we're going to get our smoker started. We'll follow that process as well, and then stick along with us and we'll get these bad boys made. Smokers are definitely a little bit of an overkill for this type of smoke, since we just have a couple of those little rib pieces, but the flavor and everything we get out of this is totally going to be worth it. Just as a side note, this is probably my easiest smoker to get rolling anyway, so really not that big of a deal. All right, so we've got our smoker heated up to 275 degrees. It's time to get these babies thrown on here. So we'll just set them right there in the middle just to make sure that we're getting plenty of flow. And these are going to cook pretty quickly. In a minute here, we'll get them glazed up just to get them nice and sticky, and we'll go inside and start prepping some of our other ingredients. Okay, first we're going to be starting with some red onions. Obviously a little bit of a departure from the actual McDonald's recipe, but these will give it a lot nicer of a flavor. We're basically just going to get these sliced up. We're not using very much here, so I'm just using a portion of the onion. I'll chop that right in half. We'll peel off the skin. And then we're going to just slice them pretty thin. As soon as we have these sliced, I like to drop them into some cold water just to rest for a little while. That's going to take away some of the harshness of the actual onion. The other thing that we're going to be using are these McClure's sweet and spicy pickles. These are really nice pickles. It's going to add a lot better of a overall flavor than just kind of a basic dill pickle, but if you are more into dill pickles, then definitely go that route. We also have here some bolillo rolls. You can use French rolls or whatever you have available there locally, or you could make some rolls yourself. We're just going to slice all of these in half. We're going to go ahead and just kind of sloppily put some butter on there. This is all just for the purpose of melting onto the griddle. And then throw them onto the griddle and just kind of mix them around or move them around a few times to make sure that you're getting plenty of that butter around. Okay, next we're going to be getting our sauces together. I'm using a couple of readily available store-bought sauces here. The first one being Rufus Teague, the sweet honey sauce, and the next one being our Stubbs sticky sweet sauce. I kind of like the flavor profile of both of these together. Tested them out both individually for this, and really just like the sweetness of the Rufus Teague and the tanginess of the sticky sweet. Despite its name, the sticky sweet isn't quite as sweet as the Rufus Teague. But we'll get this all mixed up here. We're also going to pop it into the microwave. We want our sauce to be nice and hot. I'm doing about a 50-50 ratio here between these two. Feel free to use whatever your favorite barbecue sauce is, though. You don't have to stick with these. I do prefer a Blues Hog for a lot of things, but I think on these it's better to have just sort of a standard type of sauce flavor. Okay, so it's only been about 30 minutes since we put these on, but kind of bouncing between 275 and 300. We're moving along pretty good. We're getting some juices coming out, some of that fat starting to render. And it looks like right now we're sitting about 140 degrees across the board on these. So we're gonna leave that just a little bit. I wanna get to about 150, 155 degrees before I start doing any glazing on those. So we'll check back here in just a minute. All right, at this point it's been about another 20 minutes. Checking the probe here and they're coming up at about 150 degrees. We don't need this wire rack anymore because they are well constituted now. I'm going to spray down some cooking spray to make sure they don't stick. We're going to baste the back side with our basting brush. We've got these face down at this point. Really generous basting here. Alright, it's been about 15 minutes. We're going to flip these back over to the other side so that we can get started on that basting process. And one more rubbing of sauce. This is going to be the final thing that we're going to do on this cook. We'll just make sure we get up to 165 degrees. You can even go a little bit warmer on these. It kind of renders and softens the pork a little bit more. Probably another 15 minutes and we should be ready to get these guys plated up. Okay, let's check on these babies. Alright, we're about 170 degrees all the way around here. I moved them over to the hot side of the smoker here just to try to get a little bit of color and caramelization onto them. Seem to have worked out really nicely. This smoker's pretty even all the way across the chamber, but right next to the exhaust, it does heat up quite a bit. So, as you can see, these turned out really nice. Beautiful color, and they're gonna be delicious. Okay, now it's time to put these things all together. So first we're gonna take our onions out of that cold water. Just set them onto a paper plate just to let them dry out a little bit. It's not crucial that they're totally dry for this process. Then we're gonna grab one of our hoagie rolls. Again, these have been toasted with just some butter. You could do some garlic butter or something like that if you wanted to add an extra zing. Because these have been glazed really well, I don't want the sauce to be totally overwhelming on this, so I'm just sort of basting some of them onto the actual buns here. Just like a decent amount onto the bun, but if you like your sauce, you can definitely put a bunch on there if you want to. We'll just pick one of these ones to start with, throw it right onto our bottom bun. And again, this portion's still pretty traditional with the namesake, where we're just doing some pickles and some onions on here. We'll throw the pickles right on top and then the onions right on top of that. The other thing you could do with these onions is you could actually give them sort of a flash pickling as well if you wanted a little bit extra flavor. But that's basically all we're doing. We'll put the top on and you got your finished sandwich there. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these ones made up. And just as a reminder, basically we cooked these guys for about 2 hours is all in total. With our special press, and then we've got all of our toppings put onto them. We've got all 4 sandwiches finished here, and we're gonna just cut into one of these and give them a try. They look great. Everybody's gonna think they're pretty awesome, pretty handy little sandwiches. These would be great for a barbecue or a party. They're pretty easy to do, and you could do quite a few of them. But we've even got a little bit of a smoke ring going on our pork here after that short amount of time. We'll give it a bite and try it out, and actually these things are really, really good. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. We do ask that you please like this video and subscribe if you don't mind. It really help us out, and I'm just trying to get started here. Thank you so much again for watching.